The Seaports are facing a major crisis due to the unprecedented surge in import volume that has been ongoing since the second half of 2020. The global shipping disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the shortage of containers and truck drivers, the high fuel costs and the labor issues have resulted in severe port congestion and delays, affecting the entire supply chain and the economy. In this section, we will explore some of the strategies and challenges of Seaports to cope with the import volume crisis, such as expanding capacity, diversifying routes, mitigating supply chain risk and improving efficiency. One of the main strategies of Seaports to handle the import volume crisis is to expand their capacity by investing in infrastructure, equipment and technology. For example, the Port of Los Angeles, which is the busiest port in the has been upgrading its terminals, cranes and rail connections to increase its throughput and reduce dwell times. The Port of Savannah, which is the fourth largest port in the has been deepening its harbor and adding more berths and cranes to accommodate larger vessels and more cargo. The Port of Houston, which is the sixth largest port in the has been expanding its container terminals and improving its road access to facilitate truck movements. These capacity expansion projects require significant funding and time, and they may face environmental and regulatory hurdles. Another strategy of Seaports to cope with the import volume crisis is to diversify their routes and markets by attracting new customers and services. For example, some East and Gulf Coast ports have been gaining market share from West Coast ports by offering faster and cheaper alternatives for cargo coming from Asia via the Suez Canal or transshipment hubs. Some West Coast ports have been developing new services for cargo coming from Europe, Latin America and Oceania to offset the decline in imports from China. Some smaller ports have been leveraging their niche markets and regional advantages to compete with larger ports for certain types of cargo or customers. These route diversification efforts require strong marketing and coordination with ocean carriers, railroads and other stakeholders. A third strategy of Seaports to cope with the import volume crisis is to mitigate their supply chain risk by enhancing their resilience and flexibility. For example, some ports have been implementing contingency plans and emergency protocols to deal with potential disruptions such as labor strikes, natural disasters, or cyber attacks. Some ports have been collaborating with other ports and supply chain partners to share information, resources, and best practices to improve their visibility and responsiveness. Some ports have been adopting innovative solutions such as digital platforms, blockchain technology, and smart contracts to streamline their processes and transactions. These risk mitigation efforts require trust and transparency among supply chain actors. A fourth strategy of Seaports to cope with the import volume crisis is to improve their efficiency by optimizing their operations and performance. For example, some ports have been using data analytics, artificial intelligence and automation to enhance their planning, scheduling and decision-making. Some ports have been implementing incentive programs, fee structures and penalties to encourage faster cargo movement and reduce congestion. Some ports have been adopting green initiatives such as electrification, renewable energy and emission reduction to reduce their environmental impact and costs. These efficiency improvement efforts require innovation and collaboration among port stakeholders. In conclusion, Seaports are facing a daunting challenge due to the import volume crisis that has strained their capacity, resources, and reliability. To cope with this challenge, they have been pursuing various strategies such as expanding capacity, diversifying routes, mitigating risk and improving efficiency. However, these strategies also entail various challenges such as funding constraints, regulatory barriers, competitive pressures and technological gaps. Therefore, Seaports need to continue to adapt and evolve in order to overcome the crisis and maintain their competitiveness in the global market.